everyone, it's so funny that this book is going to be the first one I'm discussing on this channel because it is not particularly the genre I am usually reading, because I'm holding here a children's book. It's called Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls and it is produced in Italy, so by by two Italian women. Like, they were collecting the ideas and writing the stories, but they also work together with art workers, so that means there are also some illustrations in it, but everything, step by step. When we take a look at the second title, 100 Tales of Extraordinary Women, it gives you a better hint what this book here is about. We are getting here 100 stories of really cool women who existed in real life and who did something with what no women did before, where people said, oh, girls or women cannot do that, or they just became really good in their job, or they discovered something special or something people did not know about. So the best thing, I'm just going to show you the first page, because then I can easier explain it to you. The first woman, it's ordered alphabetically, is Ada Lovelace, and here we have a story in the fairy tale style. So the stories, they're often beginning with once upon a time there was a girl named Ada who loved machine. She's the woman, she wrote the first computer program, for example, or in general she was a mathematician, and here we have some stuff she did and she was interested in and for what she is known, and next to it there is an illustration with this cool woman displayed. Another interesting point is that 60 different art workers were giving illustrations for this book, so the styles, they can vary a lot. Like here, this is Ada Lovelace, and here in the bottom you can see some data, like from what country and to what times the woman lived. And then the next page is Alec Weck, and she's a supermodel, and the style is now completely different. But I have to say that I enjoyed watching all the different illustrations. For example, here the next one is Alfonsina Strada, and she was an Italian cyclist. And she was like the first woman who participated in a certain race. Usually only male contestants are allowed. And of course the stories are pretty simple down. On the one hand, it should be suitable to read it to children, and on the other hand there's just one page, so of course you cannot describe how everything aligned together and so on. But when I was taking a look at this book, I always had Google open, and I can also just recommend it to you. So when something is interesting, you can look it up and you can see the background and how exactly it happened, because I honestly can see, I don't know how annoying I was as a child, but when I would read this book, when I got told this story or when I read it, I would always ask myself, but why? Or why is that? Or how did this exactly happen? And so on. And for example, when I was reading the story about Alfonsina, I also read that she was participating in this competition. But, for example, she had a breakdown and she nearly did not make it, but there were a lot of people who were cheering for her, and then some people were carrying her over the goal. And then maybe that doesn't look or doesn't sound that heroic anymore, and so on. So it was actually interesting to take another look and do some background researching. But nonetheless, there were some really cool women got stories there. I know a lot of them, but also some were completely unknown to me, or it was so wow, like a really Eureka effect, because I'm like, I know this woman, but I did not know, or for example, I knew this discovery, but I did not know that it was by a German woman or whatever. It was really interesting. So even though this book is actually a children's good night story book, I also think that a lot of adult people will have a lot of fun with this book, because for example, I had it, I was just reading it for myself. I won it on an online book platform where you can win books, and I saw it and I instantly fell in love with it. I took a look, when on Amazon you can do this, take a look into the book and then you see the first few pages, and I was so amazed by the artworks, and I really spent for sure minimum the same amount admiring the illustration than it was taking me to read the stories. And I also had a particularly joy, for example, when there was one cool illustration. I'm like, wow, I know this style, I know this painting style. I'm sure this art worker already, painted another artwork from a woman I already read something about, and it was so fun to also guess which pictures are by the same artwork and so on. And the good thing, in the back side of the book there's also a list with all the artworkers or illustration women, and you can see the pages on what they contributed something, so you can also look them up if you like some artworks particularly, or you can also check which artworks are by the same person, for example. And as you saw it already, there are really all kind of women displayed, like from different countries. Unfortunately, no one from Austria, but again, there the book had some impact because it made me look up you know, interesting women from my country, for example. And I'm sure people who are reading this, there's a good chance that they're also doing that. Unfortunately, there's no Austrian woman, and I was Googling it, and there was even an Austrian newspaper who were featuring such a feminism, like strong women from Austria line. And there, I also have to admit, I did not know a lot of these women. I mean, there's Bertna von Suttner, for example. She's also on printed on the money and so on. And on the other hand, it also made me think, and also for entering the giveaway, it was actually the raffle question. To enter it, you should say, what women would you put into the book? And it also made me think, author-wise, there's, for example, the Bronte sisters are in there, or for example, Jane Austen, and also Marie Curie. I guess everyone would also bet that this woman is in this book. And what I, for example, figured out, I would also see Mary Wollstonecraft in this book, because on the one hand she was one of the first feminists who were fighting for some more women's rights, and on the other hand she's the mother of Mary Shelley, and she wrote Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus, and that was also pretty cool that this kind of horror novel, this kind of philosophic novel about, you know, when is a human is also written by a woman. And yeah, her mother did also some interesting things. So when I was entering the giveaway, I said Mary Wollstonecraft, I would put her into it. If there's a woman you are thinking about right now, or something that comes into your mind, please feel free to write it into the comments. So I really noticed how much this book gave me. On the one hand, it gave me a lot of reading joy and all these artworks to admire. That was so much fun, and you learned something about some new personae in history. There is, for example, Hatshepsut, and she was a female pharaoh. She lived 1500 before Christian time, like BC, and there you can also see that we go really back in time. They're really from different centuries, 14th centuries, 17th centuries, even before Christian time. And also, of course, there are some people who are really young and who are living nowadays and who are still alive. For example, Malala, who got the Nobel Peace Prize. So really from different centuries, from different countries, different job what they were doing, like politicians, artists, sports people, and also different ages, you know, when this woman did something remarkable. And for example, here Hatshepsut, I did not know her, for example. Like, there's also Cleopatra in this book, and I was then maybe thinking that maybe this is a different name, or the English name or whatever for Nofretete, or like in English she's called Nofretiti or something. But no, it was a complete new Egyptian woman for me. I did not know about her. If you want to present a child with this book, then but the native language of this child is not English, it's also available in some other languages, Italian, of course, Swedish, it's also coming out in German soon, and also Turkish. Yeah, that's the ones I can remember. So all in all, I can recommend this book. Of course, you have to know that the stories are pretty slimmed down, so maybe you have to do some background research to get more information, or to be able to explain it better to your child, or maybe stuff, you know, is maybe not completely correct in the sake of making it explain easier. Or for example, when a woman died while she was fighting for this right, then this also did not really get named like that, and so on. And I think the super plus point of this book are just the illustration. They are making this book as worthwhile as I find it now. Like without the artworks, I would not find it that charming. But it's a really nice mix all after all. And I don't know about the cover and so on. Like maybe they should put some illustrations on the backside so people know that there are some really cool illustrations in there. Also very short, because some people were criticizing the title, Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls. They were saying like, why for rebel girls? Why not about rebel girls? Because isn't that also not for boys? Are they not allowed to read it? And of course, boys can also read this book. It also says in the acknowledgement, thank you for reading this, boys and girls and so on, the rebel boys and rebel girls. But I think it's clear that this is more like targeting to girls, and that they can see what women there were in history who achieved big stuff and so on. And another critical point is rebel girls. Like, oh, just because you want to achieve something, or because you are aspiring or whatever, does that mean you are a rebel woman? Why is it like this? You know, women always have to behave and be nice and soft and so on. But I think these rebel girls, you know, you can also take it in this context, that they were often doing something which was not conventional for women to that times, and that rebel, you know, from the word bellum, like Latin war, you know, that they were fighting for something. If you can see it like this, I think it's better to deal with this, and like you shouldn't take it that, you know, that literally. For example, also there's this song by Pink, you know, Stupid Girls, and there's also one line, it says outcasts and girls with ambition, that's what I want to see. And I was also like, outcasts, huh? Why does she want that girls are outcasts, you know, being an outcast? Of course, if you want to be one or whatever, that's also fine, but I would personally say being an outcast is per se not something nice, you know, being not implemented and so on. But I also understand how Pink means it, you know, outcast. It's like, okay, you know, to try out something different, to swim against the stream, you know, and maybe do something that other people are weirdly looking at you, but you are fighting for a good cause, or you give, confidence to other people who also struggle with this and so on. Like, if you understand it like this, then Rebel Girls is, I think, also a fine title and draws attention to this book. And yeah, I guess you already noticed by now that my book talks always turn into a kind of a vlog, and I'm adding there everything that comes into my mind regarding to the book. And so one little more fun fact I would like to add here. One person they are writing here about is Tamara de Lempicka, and she was a Polish painter. For example, this artwork is by Marta Signori or Signori. Gorgeous, nice. It's a bit in her painting style, like how Lempicka painted herself. However, you know that there is a very famous novel, and it's also a lot discussed on BookTube, which is by Ed Wood, A Handmaid's Tale, or in German it's called Der Report der Magd. And it's also, you know, it got now turned into a TV series, so it got again some hype and so on. And you know what? On the German cover of this Der Report der Magd, like on this novel, they actually used an artwork by Lempicka. They used, it's called St. Moritz or Sankt Moritz, and you know, it's this woman with this red clothes on. And yeah, this is an artwork by Lempicka. And when I noticed that, I was also like, wow, cool, you know, such fun facts. I just love, I'm a big fan of such useless knowledge, but it also helps, you know, remembering things easier and so on. So when I'm able to learn something like this, I'm always super amazed. So yeah, that's that. And I think that's also enough for this video here. I hope you enjoyed it a little bit. And yeah, like I said, don't forget about my question. Maybe you know one cool woman you would instantly, in a heartbeat, put in such a Rebel Girls book. And now I just want to say thank you for watching and have a very good day. See you!